نسألك الجنة ونعوذ بك من النار. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله نستغفر الله. نسألك الجنة ونعوذ بك من النار. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله نستغفر الله. نسألك الجنة ونعوذ بك من النار. اللهم إنك عفو تحب العفو فاعف عنا. اللهم إنك عفو تحب العفو فاعف عنا. اللهم إنك عفو تحب العفو فاعف عنا يا كريم. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله نستغفر الله. نسألك الجنة ونعوذ بك من النار. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله نستغفر الله. نسألك الجنة ونعوذ بك من النار. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله نستغفر الله. نسألك الجنة ونعوذ بك من النار. اللهم إنك عفو تحب العفو فاعف عنا. اللهم إنك عفو تحب العفو فاعف عنا. اللهم إنك عفو تحب العفو فاعف عنا يا كريم.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. Alhamdulillah, we begin by praising Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for this opportunity for us to continue with our lessons in Aqaid Nasafiyyah, and we pray that Allah bless this session and make it a reason where our sins are forgiven, our prayers are answered, inshallah ta'ala. And may Allah open for us the doors of understanding, bless us with iman and taqwa, and protect us from all difficulties, trials and tribulations in dunya and akhirah. Ameen Ya Rabbal Alameen. In our last lesson, we were speaking about the attribute of Takwin, as is mentioned by Al-Imam Al-Nasafi. And I mentioned to a certain extent the viewpoint of the Ash'ariyah, of the Ash'aris, when it comes into the meaning of Takwin and what is Takwin in relation to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. There is a difference between the Ash'ariyah and Maturidiyah that we pointed out, is that the Maturidiyah regard Takwin as an attribute of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, meaning an attribute that subsists in the entity of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Whereas the Ash'ariyah, they regard it as Amrun i'tibari. This is what I mentioned in the last lesson. And what I will do, inshallah ta'ala, I will demonstrate what is the viewpoint of the Ash'ariyah before we speak about the viewpoint of the Maturidis. So inshallah I will do some illustration. So the illustration I will do is going to be a simple illustration. So now we take a look at the whiteboard. So now I'm going to explain the viewpoint of the Ash'ariyah when it comes to Takwin. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala brought the universe into existence. Tamam? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala brought the universe into existence. So the universe is contingent, that's what we mentioned. the universe has a beginning. So the concept of Takwin for the Ash'ariyah is the ta'alluq of the qudra of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So Takwin here, it refers to the relation of, because I'm writing this with the typing, relation to qudra, power of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So this is the concept of Takwin which the Ash'ariyah speaks about. So when we spoke about ta'alluqat, we say that the qudra of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has two relations or linkages. Number one is ta'alluq suluhiyun qadim. Number two is ta'alluq tanjiziyun hadith. So now when we look at the universe, since the universe is contingent, the power of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the qudra of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, which is an attribute that subsists in the entity of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, its relation to the universe before its creation, this relation, we say it is suluhiyun qadim. Suluhiyun qadim. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala brought the universe into existence, the relation between the power of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the creation, this is what we call as ta'alluq tanjiziyun hadith. Ta'alluq tanjiziyun hadith. So the relation to the qudra, when Allah brought the universe into existence, this relation is hadith. This relation is hadith. The meaning of hadith is contingent. So we say it is ta'alluq, a relation tanjizi, which takes place. Tanjizi, it means tanjizi hadith. So please bear patient with me with this writing, because it's not easy to write on this pad. So we say this is tanjiziyun hadith. Tanjiziyun hadith. So this is the meaning of Takwin, as far as we are concerned, the Ash'ariyah. Now I'm explaining the viewpoint of the Ash'ariyah. So we say that this relation of Takwin, when comes to the existence of the universe, this is what we meant by it is hadith, yes, and it is amrun i'tibari. Amrun i'tibari. Okay, now I'm going to explain what is amrun and i'tibari. What is amrun i'tibari? Amrun and i'tibari, it is something that occurs, but it is not in existence as a creation. It is not in existence as a creation. For example, fatherhood. I mentioned in the last lesson the example of fatherhood. Fatherhood. Now when we ask the question, does fatherhood is in existence as a creation? No, but it is a relation. Tamam. So how do we get fatherhood? So for example, you have a man by the name of Zaid. Okay, you have by the name of the man by the name of Zaid. So for example, Zaid was born in 1960, and then in 1985 he has a son by the name of Hassan. So before 1965 there is no fatherhood, correct or not? Because Zaid is in existence before 1985, meaning like for example 1980 for example. So if 1980 Zaid for example is still single, So the concept of fatherhood is not linked to Zaid. But when does fatherhood comes into the picture? When Hassan is born. So when Hassan is born, there is a relation between Zaid and Hassan, and this relation is fatherhood. Again, we ask the question: does fatherhood comes into existence as a creation by itself? The answer is no. But the existence of Hassan inform us that there is fatherhood between Zaid and Hassan. So this fatherhood is amrun i'tibari. Fatherhood is called amrun i'tibari. So amrun i'tibari, where does it comes? Where does it what you call it? It exists. It exists in 1965, correct? No? It exists in 1965, and when Hassan is born. But it is not an existence that in the form of a creation by itself. Meaning there is no such thing as fatherhood walking around, for example. So this is a linkage or association, and we associate Zaid fatherhood to Zaid because of the existence of Hassan as the child. So this is an example of, we say fatherhood is amrun i'tibari. So just like, for example, we say Takwin, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created the universe. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created the universe. So the relation between the power of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the creation of the universe, this relation or this ta'alluq is called Takwin. This is amrun i'tibari. This is amrun i'tibari. So as far as the Ash'ari are concerned, we say this is hadith. Takwin is hadith, it is not qadim. So this is the viewpoint of the Ash'ari. Now I'm going to speak about the viewpoint of the Maturidiyah. Okay. So I will erase this. I will erase this. So I hope it's clear, inshallah, when I speak about amrun i'tibari. So as far as the Ash'ari is concerned, Takwin here is ta'alluq tanjiziyun hadith, and those of you who studied in the Kharidah Bahiyya, please revise. Ta'alluq tanjiziyun hadith, when Allah created the creations, and this relationship is hadith, and it is amrun i'tibari, and as what we mentioned. So basically this is Takwin. So now we are going to speak about the perspective of the Maturidiyah. The Maturidiyah, when they use the word Takwin, they mean something else. They mean something else. So I will just demonstrate this before we go back to our text, so that when you go back into the text, it becomes easy. Okay, the Maturidiyah, when they say Takwin, Takwin, what they meant, Takwin, it is sifa, an attribute. This is what we covered also last week, and this is in the text of Aqaid Nasafiyyah. Sifa Azaliyah. Sifa Azaliyah. Okay, now we have to pay attention. When it comes to Sifa Azaliyah, I believe we have no problem understanding what is the meaning of Sifa Azaliyah. So Al-Imam Taftazani, for example, he mentioned lengthily that what the Maturidi meant when they say Takwin and Sifa Azaliyah, it is an attribute that subsists in the entity of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Just like Qudrat, Ilm, Irada, we say these are attributes of Allah. So likewise, the Takwin. So Takwin is Azaliyah, meaning it is not hadith. It is pre-eternal. So it is an attribute that is pre-eternal. Type. When comes to Takwin, it is about bringing creations in I just write see creations into existence E. It is about bringing any creations into existence. Right, that's right, I, into. So when we speak about Takwin, the Maturidiyah they say that it is an attribute of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, sifatun azaliyah, sifatun azaliyah, and it brings creations into existence. It brings any creations into existence. And for example, we say, how does any human beings comes into existence? And we say Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala brought any creations into existence. So this comes from the attribute of Takwin. This comes from the attribute of Takwin. And the attribute of Takwin is sifatun azaliyah. It is a pre-eternal. It is a pre-eternal attribute. And it has two aspects. Two aspects. Number one, hold on. It has two aspects. Number one, the creations itself, the creations. Number two, it is the time of existence. The time of existence. Existence here. So the Maturidiyah, when they speak about Takwin, they speak about bringing creations into existence and the time of his existence that is ordained by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So can we see the difference between Takwin in the perspective of the Maturidiyah and in the perspective of the Ash'ariyah? So the Ash'ariyah they say that there is no sifa of Takwin of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala which is pre-eternal, but Takwin is amrun i'tibari. This is what the Ash'ariyah is saying, as what I illustrated before this. Whereas the Maturidiyah they say Takwin is an attribute of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that is pre-eternal, and it has any relation with the creations, where Allah brings the creations into existence. So this bringing of creations into existence and specification of the time of that existence, this is related to the attribute of Takwin. So what is the difference between Takwin and Qudra? In the perspective of the Maturidiyah, the difference is that Takwin is only related to the things that are brought into existence, whereas Qudra is related to the things that are in existence and non-existence. Yani, Qudra of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is what we understand, that it is about ijad and i'dam. It is about bringing into existence and bringing from existence into non-existence, whereas Takwin is specifically about bringing into existence. So this is the difference in the perspective of the Maturidiyah between Takwin and Qudra. But the Ash'ariyah, we do not make this difference at all. We are saying that Allah has the attribute of Al-Qudra, and Takwin is the relation of the creations and the attribute of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Tamam? So it is hadith, as what we mentioned, and it is not something that is in existence by itself, but is amrun i'tibari. It is amrun i'tibari. So I hope it is clear, inshallah. So now we will enter into where we are. So I will skip some parts because of some lengthy explanation. So basically I just do a short summary earlier. طيب, now we go on. Before this we were at the top. This is where we were. We say التكوين وهو المعنى الذي يعبر عنه بالفعل والخلق والتخليق والإيجاد. Al-Imam Taftazani explained the meaning of Takwin, bringing something from non-existence into existence. And then he mentioned sifatun lillah. It is an attribute of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Again, this is the viewpoint of the Maturidiyah, because Al-Imam Nasafi in the Aqaid Nasafiyyah is speaking about the Aqidah Maturidiyah. So the perspective of Maturidiyah. So here Al-Imam Taftazani and he explained that sifa lillah, meaning it is an attribute that subsists in the entity of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because when we say takwin, it comes from kawwana. So kawwana, mukawwin, takwin, it is an attribute that subsists in the Arabic language. And when we say al-ilm and alim, so ilm subsists in the entity of al-alim, because it comes from the same roots. This is in the linguistic perspective, and is what Al-Imam Taftazani explained. And then it is Azaliyah, as what we mentioned earlier. Azaliyah meaning it is pre-eternal, and then Al-Imam Taftazani explained why it is Azaliyah in the perspective of the Maturidiyah, and I explained, I summarized for you earlier, so there is no need for us to read this, because I do not want anyone to confuse, because so many of these explanations are quite technical. Right, now when we go on, here Al-Imam Taftazani is defending the viewpoint of the Asha'ira, because the Asha'ira, they say that there is no attribute of takwin, because Qudra of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the irada of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, actually it is the meaning of takwin in the perspective of the Maturidiyah. So there is no need for us to ascribe the attribute of takwin to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now anyway, our lesson today, inshallah ta'ala, we will begin from page 114. So Al-Imam Nasafi now is going to explain what is the takwin that is meant by the Maturidiyah, and this is as what I explained earlier. Now when we look at the words of Al-Imam An-Nasafi. So he said, وَهُوَ أي التكوين. He said, تكوينه تعالى للعالم وكل جزء من أجزائه. So he's saying the meaning of takwin is the creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah brought the creations into existence. So every single creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that is brought into existence, and it is from the linkage of takwin, which is the attribute of Allah, which is Azaliyah, as what Al-Imam Nasafi mentioned. La fil azali bal li waqti wujudihi. La fil azali bal li waqti wujudihi. This is where I demonstrate the two things just now. Now we go back to our board here. Now we go back here. Number one is the creation. Number two is the time of existence. So number one is the creation. Number two is the time of the existence. Why do the Asha'ira differ on this? Because the Asha'ira is saying, if you say that takwin, which is a sifa of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and it is related to the creations, bringing creations into existence, then the creation will be pre-eternal, because the attribute is pre-eternal. Then the creation must also be pre-eternal. That is why the Asha'ira do not opt in this idea. They speak about Qudra of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and the ta'alluq tanjiziyun hadis, that's what we mentioned. Then the Maturidiyah defended their statement by saying, actually what we meant by takwin, there are two aspects. Number one is creation. Number two is the timing of the creation. Number one is the creation. Number two is the timing of the creation. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, before he brought the universe into existence, Allah has ordained the time of the existence of the universe. So this ordainment of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we say the specification of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for the specific moment where the universe is brought into existence, and together with the existence of that creations, and all these linkages are from the linkages of takwin. So these are the two aspects. So it doesn't mean that the linkage of takwin is related to the creations, and since takwin is pre-eternal, the creations must be eternal. The Maturidiyah is saying that is not the case. Creations are not pre-eternal. Creations are contingent beings. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has ordained the time for the existence of the creations. So the linkage between the creations and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, this is from the attribute of takwin. It is linked to the attribute of takwin. So it doesn't mean that takwin is a pre-eternal attribute, that the creations must also be pre-eternal, because within takwin there is specification of the time of the existence of the creation. So this is basically what Al-Imam Nasafiyyah is explaining. So I will just go slowly. Inshallah, we take our time to ponder the statement. This statement requires some ponderance to understand their perspective of the Maturidiyah. So again, he's saying, تكوينه تعالى للعالم وكل جزء من أجزائه. So he said, the takwin of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he brought the universe and all of its contents into existence, la fil azal, meaning not pre-eternally, because other than Allah is contingent. We cannot be saying that the universe is pre-eternal. This can lead to kufr, na'uzubillah min dhalik. So the other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they are contingent. So takwin is pre-eternal attribute of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, which is Azaliyah, yes. But when it comes to the bringing the existence the creations into existence, now the existence of the creations, la fil azal, it is not any pre-eternal. It is not any pre-eternal, as the creations is contingent. Bal liwaqti wujudihi ala hasabi ilmihi wa iradatihi. So it is dependent on the knowledge of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that ordain the specific time of the existence of the universe. So this is the explanation of takwin in the perspective of the Maturidiyah. So basically, takwin is an attribute that speaks about bringing something from non-existence to existence at a specific time, which is ordained by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, by His knowledge and by His will. So this is basically what he explained. طيب. And then he goes on to say, فَالتَّكْوِينَ بَاقٍ أَزَلًا وَأَبَدًا. Takwin, the attribute of takwin, it is pre-eternal and it is eternal. باقٍ أَزَلًا وَأَبَدًا وَالْمُكَوَّنُ حَادِثٌ بِحُدُوثِ التَّعَلُّقِ. But the thing that is brought into existence is contingent, hadith. The thing that is brought into existence is what you call it, contingent. And the relation between the attribute and the creation is also contingent, because it is related to contingent beings. The relation is also contingent. Kama fil ilmi wal qudrati wa ghayrihima min as-sifat al-qadimah allati la yalzamu min qidamiha qidamu ta'alluqiha likawni ta'alluqatiha hadithatun. So now he's saying, just like in knowledge and power, qudra, and the other attributes that are pre-eternal, so it doesn't mean that it is related to contingent beings, that the relation is also contingent. So this is basically in our perspective of the Ash'ariyah, we are speaking about ta'alluq tanjizi hadith. Ta'alluq tanjizi hadith. So maybe one more time I will explain this. So now we have the universe. We have the universe. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala brought the universe into existence. So we say that it is by the power of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, qudra. It is by the power of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, qudra. Of course, Maturidiyah says takwin. Ash'ariyah say qudra, Maturidiyah takwin. Because they differentiate qudra and takwin. They say Takwin is specifically to existence, bringing something from non-existence to existence, whereas Qudra is both bringing something from non-existence to existence and bringing non-existence to existence and existence to non-existence. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala brought the universe into existence. The universe is hadith. The universe is hadith, contingent, has a beginning. So if the universe has a beginning, the relation between the attribute of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, whether we are saying this Qudra or Takwin, and the existence of the universe is also hadith. This is what basically he's saying. Why is hadith? Because this universe has a beginning. If this universe has a beginning, the relation of this creation, takhliq, of bringing the universe into existence is also hadith. Because there is a specific time that is allocated to the creation of the universe. So the Maturidi, the Ash'ari speaks about Qudra and says Takwin is actually the relation here. But Maturidiya says no, Takwin is an attribute of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So this lesson is basically to explain the better, so that we can understand basically the difference between the Ash'ari and the Maturidiya when it comes to the term Takwin. So inshallah ta'ala we will stop here for today. Try to just understand this thing. Then inshallah ta'ala in our next lesson we will go on to speak about the matan of al-Imam al-Nasafi. We go in our next lesson wa huwa ghayrul mukawwan indana. So inshallah ta'ala we will stop in our lesson here. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahi rabbil alamin. Allahumma salli wa sallim ala sayyidina Muhammad wa ala ali sayyidina Muhammad. Rabbana atina fid dunya hasanah wa fil akhirati hasanah wa qina adhaban nar. Wa sallallahu ala sayyidina Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wasallam. Walhamdulillahi rabbil alamin.